Welcome to Beatsource Tech. My name's MoJaXX and today we are taking a look at one of two newly announced products from Denon DJ. And let's be honest, these are one of the worst kept secrets in the history of DJ technology. Yeah, so I'm sure lots of you watching this video, thanks to Nick Spinelli and Serato, already know much of what there is to know about the SC Live 2 and 4. I'm not quite sure what's going on with InMusic's marketing team at the moment, but this has certainly not been their finest hour. But nonetheless, I've had an opportunity to spend some time with the SC Live 4, and so I'm able to give you my thoughts here. The first thing to note about these products is that they are not being released under the Prime name, and that makes sense, as they do seem to have quite different design philosophies from the existing Denon DJ standalone gear. The SC Live 2 is a 2-channel standalone device running Engine OS, which also has support for Serato DJ Pro and Virtual DJ. The SC Live 4, as the name implies, is the same thing but with 4 decks. It's interesting to note that it's only the second standalone device currently available with that capability, following the Prime 4, a unit we'll be talking more about later. The competition has still yet to bring any 4-channel standalone devices to market. Whilst I haven't got an SC Live 2 in hand, it's clear from the specs that both are very similar indeed, with the 2 having only 2 channels, 4 pads on each deck, no jog wheel displays, and it's lacking the second mic and aux input. But the builds do seem to be identical on the whole, so you can largely take what I say about the 4 to also apply to the 2. They are by no stretch of the imagination budget devices. The SC Live 2 has a suggested retail price of $1,300 in the US, and the SC Live 4 a fairly whopping $1,600. Whether those suggested prices translate to street prices remains to be seen. Some other engine prices for context: the Prime Go has a street price of around $1,000, and the flagship Prime 4 is currently selling for $1,900. The SC 6000 players start at $1,700 each, and if you're after the Engine OS experience on more of a budget, the Newmark Mixstream Pro can be had for around $700. What's very clear is that the SC Live 4 is not intended to be a replacement for the Prime 4, and indeed the Prime 4 is still a current product in the Denon DJ lineup. It's also a product which I really like, and I have a number of friends who own them and love them. But 3 years after the release of that, it would seem reasonable to expect something of a generational leap, even if this new device is slightly more affordable. So for me, the big question is, does the older Prime 4 still justify a $300 price premium over the newer SC Live? Let's find out. At the heart of the SC Live 4 is a 7-inch multi-touch screen, behind which lurks the latest Engine OS. At this point now, 5 years in, Engine OS has proven itself to be a powerful and reliable solution, with lots of new features and improvements added in that time. It's still the only standalone solution which supports streaming services, which is a huge thing for me and lots of other DJs now, and so whilst I would still like to see support for the offline locker in Beatsource and Beatport, the existing offering on the streaming front is great. One of the coolest recent additions to Engine OS is engine lighting, which basically puts Sound Switch inside the hardware too. The SC Live 4 easily connected to my Nanoleaf and Philips Hue setups wirelessly, and those are great in the studio. I will admit to a slight twinge of disappointment though. The leaks that came out specified DMX control as a feature of the new devices, and for a moment I dared to dream about a 3-pin XLR socket for DMX on the rear. Sadly that's not there, and you'll still need a Sound Switch interface to use DMX. Maybe that's an idea for next time, Denon DJ, you can have that one for free. If you're looking for more detail on Engine OS, I suggest you go back over earlier episodes on this channel. I've covered every big new update over the years, and the main thing with the standalone performance is that it is largely the same across all of the different devices which run it, right down to the sound quality, which seems to have the same specs across the board in the all-in-ones, and is perfectly decent by the way, with no weirdness. So let's move on to what's different with the SC Live devices. The first thing which is apparent is that the build is rather different to the older models. Where the Prime 4 features a metal faceplate and weighs a ton, the SC Live 4 is fully plastic. It is therefore much easier to carry around, and I'm sure it will be sturdy enough over time, although it must be said it doesn't feel as premium in hand. It also has a lot less LED lighting on its controls too. I'm unsure if that's a deliberate design choice or a cost-saving measure, as I know some people really don't like the Christmas tree aesthetic of the Prime 4, but it does impact on the device's usability in the dark a little bit. The 7-inch screen itself is of equivalent quality to all of the other Engine OS screens, with nice high resolution, a smooth refresh rate, and decent viewing angles. Again though, we must compare it to the one on the Prime 4, which is a much larger 10 inches in size and has an adjustable stand so you can choose the angle it sits at. The one on the SC Live 4 is fixed in place. Those 3 extra diagonal inches do make a lot of difference, especially once you have 4 decks on the go at once. It's the equivalent of, say, a regular iPad versus an iPad mini. Although in fairness to the SC Live 4, the 7-inch screen does allow the unit to be more compact. The capacitive 6-inch jog wheels are a highlight with a really nice amount of resistance when scratching or queuing up. I'd go so far as to say I prefer the dynamics of them to those on the Prime 4, although in other ways they aren't as high-end, lacking the on-air display LED rings around the edge, and the displays in the middle are fairly basic, as opposed to the Prime 4's higher res ones with artwork or your logo. They're still perfectly functional, but look a bit cheaper. The pitch sliders are full length and have a nice degree of accuracy as you blend. As with some of their other hardware, Denon DJ have foregone a pitch reset button in favour of a fairly large dead spot around 0, which I know annoys some DJs, but I'm perfectly okay with. And as usual on Engine hardware, there are the pitch bend buttons, which I love. I'll also mention the excellent play, pause and cue buttons, which feel very good, and the rotary loop encoder is a superb way of working. We move on to the pads, which I must say are not so great. There are 8 of them on each deck, which is cool, and there is subtle but clear illumination and plenty of modes to work with, but they just aren't very responsive, less so than on any previous Engine OS device. If you want a reliable activation each time, you really do have to batter them quite hard, and when mixing I often found myself making mistakes as I went to hit a hot cue with normal force and nothing happened. Maybe it's something that can be improved in firmware or Engine OS itself. I hope so. As it stands at launch, the SC Live 4 probably isn't a great choice for those who use the pads in a performance manner. I do really like the layout of the SC Live 4, it's comfortable and spacious despite cramming in 4 channels. Moving the OS controls to the side of the screen means you aren't sacrificing mixer space like you do on the Prime 4, and everything can be a bit more compact. Each of the 4 channels has a trim control, 3-band EQ with the sweep effects below, which we'll get to later. The up faders are decent enough and feel quite similar to existing Denon DJ products, but I do have a bit of an issue with the crossfader. Although you can set the curve to be nicely sharp in the OS, the actual cut-in distance is rather excessive. Whilst I wouldn't expect a unit like this to be a turntablist weapon, the Prime 4 has a much tighter fader cut-in, and that's also easily replaceable with an InnoFader Mini if you prefer. Whilst that might be possible with the SC Live 4, you'll be taking the whole device apart even to find that out. It's a shame as the jogs do feel so nice, but that fader lets them down, so I can't really recommend the SC Live 4 for anyone who likes to cut. In terms of the connectivity, the SC Live 4 is fairly limited. There is a master output on balanced XLRs and RCAs, and a booth output on balanced jacks. When it comes to inputs, there is one mic with a combo XLR and jack connection, and another on a jack which can be switched to an aux input with RCA sockets. This is the area where we are really talking about a different world with the Prime 4. That works as a fully standalone mixer with 4 sets of RCA line inputs, 2 of which can be switched to phono level for turntables. Outputs are the same for the master, but then the booth is on XLRs, not jacks, and there is a whole extra zone out, also on balanced XLRs. Both mics have combo sockets. Of course, none of that might be of any value to you, but I think it's definitely worth noting. When it comes to getting media into the SC Live 4, you have 2 USB sockets on the rear and an SD card slot. This is as opposed to the Prime 4, which gives you 4 USBs as well as the SD card option. I'm sure 2 USBs will be enough for most users, but the one thing which really does pain me is the lack of the Sata drive bay as found on the Prime 4, the SC6000 players, and the now discontinued Prime 2. I think that is a truly fantastic feature, allowing you to keep as much music as you like right inside the device at all times, and so I really hope this isn't the last we'll see of it. One final note on connectivity, there's no Ethernet port for connecting to a local network. The SC Live 4 does have Wi-Fi as you'd expect, and that works well enough, but I will always opt for a hardwired connection if given the choice. And whilst a lot of the connectivity things I've mentioned may be due to space constraints in service of a more compact design, if there's room for an Ethernet port on the Prime Go, I don't see why they couldn't have made space for one on here. Another thing which I'm sure is related to space is the use of an external power brick as opposed to the internal power supply and IEC socket found on the Prime 4. I'd always prefer that setup if possible, but if space saving is key on here, then I can live with it. Why is space so constrained on the SC Live 4? Well, a lot of it must be down to the speakers. Why are there speakers on a $1,600 device? That's a good question, and one I'm not sure I have an answer to. When the Numark Mixstream Pro arrived with speakers on, I had my doubts, but after using it, I totally got it. For just jamming around in the bedroom, it is great. You plug in your headphones, turn on the unit, and play. But neither the prices or the marketing material for the SC Live units really suggest that they're aimed at bedroom use. The word performance is used a lot, and for sure the SC Live speakers are superior to those on the Mixstream, louder and with much more bass, but the idea that they can be used for, as Denon DJ put it, personal monitoring during live shows is incredibly optimistic. They do go quite loud, yes, but drive them hard enough and the limitations become apparent very quickly, with the sound breaking up and sounding pretty nasty when they're pushed to their limits. There's no way I could use them at my bar gigs, and those are not that loud. There's also something a little disconcerting about the way the whole unit vibrates with the bass at high volumes. Being all plastic, it's fairly susceptible to that. On a $1,000-ish device aimed at the top end of the hobby DJ market, the speakers would absolutely be an asset. Playing around in the lab at moderate volume, they worked really well. But at $1,600, we are firmly in pro territory here, and I'm afraid I just don't get it. They feel like a feature from a different product altogether. We'll talk effects now, as that's an area which I feel may have been impacted by the need to make room for the speakers. In standalone mode, you have a fairly wide selection of the main BPM effects, which are post-fader and post-crossfader. The controls are laid out in the club style, running down the right-hand side of the mixer. They can be applied to one channel at a time, or the master, and the parameters are displayed at the bottom of the main screen. Again, I'm afraid I have to look at the Prime 4 for comparison here. That has two separate effects units, each with more parameter controls than the single one on the SC Live 4. There are more actual effects too. And crucially, there are small screens next to the controls, so no real estate is taken up on the main display showing effects parameters. And considering the SC Live 4 has a smaller display to begin with, that's even more pertinent. I've long been a fan of the sweep effects on the engine hardware, especially the washout effect, and that doesn't change here. They sound great and are post-fader and post-crossfader in standalone mode. All good. Another aspect of the SC Live 4 which seems to have been changed to accommodate the speakers is the mic section. I already mentioned the connections, but the other thing to be aware of is that you only have a volume control and on-off switch for both, as opposed to the full set of physical EQs etc. found on the Prime 4. Whilst there are EQ options found in the settings menu of the unit, so you're not really missing out on anything, it does make doing super quick tweaks impossible, and that's something that mobile DJs should bear in mind. Something I was very happy to see dropping at launch is the support for both Serato DJ Pro and Virtual DJ. Considering that some Prime devices, hello to the Prime Go, have never got Serato DJ support at all, that's very welcome. I wasn't able to get a build of Virtual DJ to use with the SC Live 4, but based on how good their previous Engine OS integrations have been, I'm happy to trust that they will nail it. Virtual DJ on other Engine hardware is superb. The Serato support works well enough, but compared to how Atomics do things, it does feel a little like maybe they've phoned it in, to be honest. The waveforms are tiny on the 7-inch display, and there's only one view available. But the big problems come back to, again, effects. The software effects are mapped to the controls on the SC Live 4, but there's simply no way to see your effects parameters, or even which effect you have selected without looking at your computer. And the sweep effects do work with Serato DJ Pro, but you lose the ability to use them in a post-crossfader fashion, only post-fader. There has been a slightly weird choice to make saved loops the first mode when hitting the loop pad mode button instead of auto loop, but otherwise the mapping is clean and the integration is tight. The beta version I used didn't have stems in it, so I can't say which pad modes can be replaced with stems controls. Overall, I'm glad the Serato support is there, no doubt about it. Giving product owners options is always a good thing. However, we do need to talk about the way you switch over between standalone and software use. After all these years, you still have to effectively reboot the entire device to change between modes, and you will lose all audio whilst doing so. So you can't run, say, a phone into the aux input whilst switching to Serato, as that will cut out too. Going back the other way is even worse. I couldn't find any option on the device to initiate the switch. You either have to close the software, pull the USB out, or just power cycle the device. As a big fan of Engine OS in general, I wasn't looking for huge technological leaps with the new generation of gear, just small quality of life improvements, maybe things like making that process better, but I guess maybe this is not the hardware for that. Finally, let's talk about the one big new innovation on the SC Live devices, considering that speakers have been done before, and that is support for Amazon Music Unlimited streaming. Denon DJ are making quite a fuss about this, as it's the first time it's been on any DJ product. Now, let's be clear, this is a Beatsource Tech video. I work for Beatsource. It is impossible for me to be unbiased about the relative qualities of any streaming service. I obviously think ours is the best, and all I can say is that you should try them all and decide which one is right for you. But this Amazon thing is not quite like all the others in two important ways. Firstly, in order to get it into the hardware, Denon DJ needed to incorporate some kind of hardware DRM chip. So at this point in time, it will only work with the SC Live hardware and no other Engine OS devices. It's also not supported in any DJ software at this time, unlike all the more established options, so if you use any other gear, you'll need to use something else. And secondly, it only lets you play 2 tracks at once. And that includes track preview, where you touch on the track in the library and pre-cue it in your headphones. So unlike with Beatsource, and as far as I'm aware, all the other streaming services, where you can be playing 4 decks at once and using track preview at the same time, with Amazon you are stuck with 2 things playing in total, which makes launching it as a key feature on a 4-deck standalone device quite odd. It even kind of restricts the feature set on the SC Live 2, as when using Amazon Music on there, if you have 2 decks playing, you will lose the ability to do track preview. As I say, I'm in no position to talk objectively about the overall merits of any streaming service, and I didn't look any deeper into Amazon Prime Unlimited than I had to in order to see how it worked. But in pure functionality terms, unless something changes, it seems clear to me that most DJs would be better off choosing any of the other streaming services which Denon DJ supports. The big problem that the SC Live 4 has is the Prime 4. That's the elephant in the room when you're talking about this device. And yeah, the Prime 4, it's kind of old now, it's getting a bit long in the tooth, and it is almost the size and weight of an actual elephant. That thing is a beast. But in terms of the street price of the Prime 4 today, and that's still available, still the flagship, it's not much more than the SC Live 4. Not so much of a difference that it would put me off. Like for me, if you sat the two side by side, the SC Live 4 and the Prime 4, I don't think anyone would conclude that the SC Live 4 is like the superior piece of hardware. It's just not. The Prime 4 is built differently. It has more connectivity, has a full standalone mixer function on it, and it just kind of does more stuff for not much more money. So what is the USP then of the SC Live 4? Well, you could say maybe it's portability, perhaps, because it is lighter. It's a little bit smaller, it's a bit lighter, easier to transport around. But if portability is high up your list of priorities, then the Prime Go is still a current product. That's probably still my favorite Engine product, by the way. I love the Prime Go. Incredibly portable, lightweight, even battery powered. All right, you don't get 4 decks, and it's not great for scratching, but as I've said, I don't think the SC Live 4 is that great for scratching anyway. And that is substantially cheaper than the SC Live 4 or the SC Live 2. So just get yourself a Prime Go. Great bit of hardware. And the thing is as well, you know, the underlying Engine OS, and this is one of the strengths and the weaknesses of Engine OS, is that all of it feels and performs pretty much the same. And that is a good thing, right? On the one hand, it's a very good thing because it means that even my original SC5000, the first bit of Engine hardware that I owned, that still works just great with the latest version. Feels really good. Feels just as good as the current stuff. But at the same time, you know, it doesn't encourage people to upgrade and change to hardware. If there is new hardware, it has to have a USP. It has to have something that will grab you and make you want to buy it. Well, is it the speakers then on these new ones? Is that what it is? Are the speakers the USP? Well, the thing is, the speakers, I really genuinely don't believe they're suitable for gig monitoring purposes, but they are great at home in the bedroom or in the studio. They're really good for that. For the kind of volumes you're pumping out there, brilliant. But again, the Mixstream Pro exists from Newmark. Same Engine OS, feels just as snappy, a lot less physical controls on the unit, and the build quality is a step down. But it's got speakers. They're not as good, you know, but it's got speakers, and it's like half the price almost of the SC Live 2, let alone the 4. So again, if you're a bedroom DJ, well, there's a Mixstream Pro for you. So it's just that I'm struggling to see where these fit into this lineup. And it may be that inflation is skewing things here, and the next, you know, whatever comes after the Prime 4 as the new flagship eventually will probably be substantially more money. And I get that, right? That's where we are. We're in this kind of transition phase with pricing across the whole industry. But I have to judge it according to today. And, you know, by today's standards, you've got the Prime 4, you've got the Prime Go, and you've got the Mixstream Pro, all of which fill those niches very well, and I struggle to see what niche this fills. And I'm not trying to be harsh on this product. It's like the 14th time I've shot this, because I don't do these outros with a script. It's all off the dome, right? And it's like the 14th time I've tried to shoot this. And I keep finishing a take and thinking, it wasn't any good. And then I look across at the SC Live 4, and I'm reminded that it's a really good bit of hardware. It's really actually very good. It's a cool device. I'm not trying to be negative on the device itself. It feels to me like if this was $1,000 or $1,100, I would be stood here with a big grin on my face saying, yeah, it's a home run for Denon DJ. Smashed it. Well done. Like, absolutely. Because it is a cool bit of kit. It is a cool bit of kit. But at the price it's at, I just struggle to see who the market for this one is. And that's the issue with it. It's not about this being a bad device. I don't think it is a bad device. I think it's a good device. I just struggle with this one. Who is this for? And the 2 as well. You know, the Prime 2, that's gone away. Maybe that one has more of a place. The SE Live 2, that's more of a replacement for the Prime 2, perhaps. That I can kind of see. But this one being priced so closely to the Prime 4, yeah, I just can't quite get my head around it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on the whole engine DJ thing. You know, are you using standalone? What do you think of these new releases? Because I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of that. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Beatsource Tech. I do hope you've enjoyed it or found it useful. If you have, please give the video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos. I'll see you next time.